Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Jeremy Scott Fitness Podcast Radio Show, coming to you on this Friday, September the 6th, 2024. Hopefully it finds you staying safe and staying sweaty all at the same time. On today's episode, we're just talking business, entrepreneurship, life, work-life balance, everything in between. Everything is work, everything is life, everything is balance, or it's not. So that's going to be on the episode today. Couple quick housekeeping things. One, the Jeremy Scott Fitness app, obviously you guys know, is live and it's rocking and rolling. We are loading a new program here. It's going to be live in October, so I'm giving you guys quite a bit of lead time. This is actually like the longest program we've ever done. It's a 12-week program. It's the Ultimate Total Body Trainer with myself and the great and powerful BJ Kadur. That will be a premium option for you guys in there. Literally last week, we just loaded I think the ultimate upper body trainers in there. So this, again, all follow alongs, just plug and play. All my weekly stuff is in there. You guys know, updated every single Sunday, plus like 1,000 other videos and 20 programs, depending on what level you're at. You guys want to check it out? Grab a week for free on me. JeremyScottFitness.app, links in the show notes. And most of you savages are in there, and we appreciate you guys for being there. I'll do one other sponsor here quick because I don't want to do the rest of them today, and you can read them in the show notes if you guys want to pick it up. But shout out to my friends at AG1. You guys know the one thing I take every single day and I never miss. If you want a year's supply of free vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with order 1, simply go to the link drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott. We'll hook you guys up with that. If you want a free sample, 100% for free on me. Just ask. We'll send some right to your front door. You can try it. If you like it, we'll hook you up with all the free stuff from there. I've been traveling a lot lately. I got a couple more trips coming up. It's the one thing I do take with me. I literally grab a shaker bottle, the travel packs, I rip it, throw in some water, slam it, and I'm good to go. I eat as many fruits and veggies as I can on a normal basis, but when you travel, it's even harder. This is a nice way for me to cover the gaps in my nutrition. I think it's the same thing for you guys. It's just a super easy health hack. I do think it's the best tasting, obviously, of all the drinks that are out there. If it tasted like shit, I wouldn't drink it, so that's why I've been doing it for so long. We know these guys. They put a lot of time, effort into the product, so if you want a free sample, reach out to us. Monica will get you one. Otherwise, drinkag1.com/Jeremy Scott gets you all the free stuff today.
I got my green tea. It's not like greens, but
this is good for you.
It is good for you.
I believe polyphenols is the thing, I think they say.
Yeah, something like that. 0 calories, good stuff.
So, yeah, you guys, D-Lo is obviously in the house here today. We're actually in his studio.
It's pretty wild to be sitting on this side of the table, and I'm actually looking at my spaceships inside the table while you talk. I'm like, oh, wow, I actually have time to kind of look at this.
It's legit, yeah.
Yeah, it's
when
fun.
You're a guest in your own house.
I love it.
But we had a mastermind call before this, so it was just convenient.
Yeah.
Easier to do it this way.
I love the mastermind calls. We've been doing it since January. Yeah, the beginning of January. Here we are, September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time.
You think they've learned anything yet?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. It's just, again, not to just plug the group all day, but how, for me, I learned, again, like you go to college, you do all the things, but at least, and again, even if you, I don't know school anymore, like it's been so long since I went, I really don't remember any of the shit that I learned in terms of curriculum, really. But even if it was business stuff, it's not, I don't know how applicable stuff from 2005-06 is in 2025, essentially. So I had to learn it, by just being a dummy, trial and error. And then when I got into groups with other people who were successful, it just cut the learning curve essentially in half for me. And some of the stuff that, and this is not tooting my own horn or for you either, but sharing some of the things I do in my business and what I've done in my business, or more importantly, like what, I see like buddies of mine, like what Ben Novak does or BJ Kadur does in his business, and then giving it to these guys, it helps them shave 5 years of time off of basically failing and fucking up, and now they can just take something and make it applicable, and an idea that it may be simple, but they never would have thought of it. Now they can take it and apply it and make $5,000 when before they would have just been spinning their wheels and made nothing. So yeah, I think it's more than beneficial.
Yeah, you bring up two good points. Number one is, and I'm paying for this now, I'm paying for college for one of my kids. I just got done paying for another one of my kids. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to have the college experience. Unfortunately, my kid that just graduated had semi-college experience. It was during, what we call COVID and all these things going on. And
Sucks.
Yeah. The amount of fees that were implemented into the tuition that had nothing to do with him being even able to go to a lab itself, because everything was done on Zoom for a good, year and a half, possibly 2 years. And I'm still getting charged a $125 lab fee, right? At the end of the day, look, no regrets. That's fine. I paid it. But college tuition is expensive. I mean, these universities are there to make money, no bones about it. Now, when I parlay that into a mastermind from a business level, and some of these guys in our mastermind are, 20. Well, they are 20s and 30s. That is a very relatively young part of your career. It's young. And so the amount of money that they're able to pay to get 30, 20, 50 years combined experience of failures and successes, and to launch that into something that can create instantaneous success for a fraction of the cost of college, because I know, I think it's just a wonderful thing.
Again, I would never, if you're going to work in the machine or do something specific, then you're going to be a doctor. Yeah, you got to go to college. That's 100%. Part of the game. For a lot of other people, I don't know if it's the perfect answer. And I say this because I was in Minnesota this last week, and I met up for coffee with, he was my essentially assistant high school coach, but we kind of grew up in the same circle. He's only, 8 years older than me. So we would play, hoops together. And now he's the AD of the academy that I graduated from. And his wife is getting her PhD. And so these are people who are in the system, they're very much educated. And this is straight out of his mouth. He's we get interns, who will come in. And they'll talk about I hate to sound old, but he'll talk about a younger generation. Not that the younger kids don't work hard, because a lot of them fucking do. But he'll say they talk about this work-life balance shit. And he's like, yeah, it needs to be more work than balance for you, especially the first 10 years that you're here. And he was sharing that his daughter is basically, able to do her undergraduate debt-free. Now she's going to do her master's degree, but she's going to go, she's going to be in Spain, so she'll be in Madrid, and she's going to take out 40 G's to do it. And he's like, we're not paying that bill. And he's like, I just hope it's worth it for you. And even he goes on to say the enrollments in a lot of the schools, where we're from, kind of this Division II kind of circuit in Minnesota, the enrollments are down drastically because kids and parents are starting to be like, well, the ROI is not worth it for you to go get a liberal arts degree for $80,000. And now you're going to go make a job that's paying you $42,000 a year and $80,000, and the juice is running where, yeah, you got to want to be an electrician or a plumber or something. I go, but that's a real fucking thing where you can go out and you actually have a skill and you can do something and you can take it with you. And to wrap this all around, I didn't have to pay for school. Luckily, paying sports paid for me to go to school. Luckily, I was good at something. If I would have had to pay for it, my parents had no money, so I'd be chewing on, at the time, probably 50, 60, 70 G's when you come out. I would have rather taken $1,000 a month and hung out with a Tyler English or an Eric Cressy or somebody who was already in fitness, running a gym and running a fucking business, because that would have propelled me so much, because they're actually doing the thing.
Yeah.
And that would help me, where I don't know, a lot of times the school, again, there's something to be said about the school experience, but it really doesn't, these people haven't made money. You know what I'm saying? If you're the business professor, but you never ran a business, it's hard to really take advice from someone who isn't in the trenches. And for us, when we share, it's not all just, I think sometimes in the school system, and this is not to bag on college, they'll say, oh, we'll get you this kind of job placement. Well, what kind of job is that? Is it a job at fucking Starbucks? Is it a real job? And two, we'll share the real too. It's not easy to do. It's not for everybody. It's a harder path, I go. But being honest with people up front, telling them how difficult it is, I think is an important piece that is missing a lot of times. But in a group that we run, you do get both sides of the fence.
Yeah, you do, and I think the world is going in a different direction. I don't think that college is becoming irrelevant. I still think it has its relevancy in society and how it is, and it's it's kind of like college football. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's a business, and it works for a lot of people, but we are going in a different direction where coaches and people that are able to do things on a different, scale and a different level, and they're there to educate people in different ways and give them the tools to get out there and be productive immediately. And if you even look at trade schools, like I love trade schools, I think they're great. If you have a desire to be a plumber, you're not going to ASU. You're going to, plumber whatever university.
Yeah, you basically go, you do your apprenticeship, you follow around. It's funny you say that. Obviously, I'll tell this story just because I was so fucking pissed the other day. I had this leak at my house months ago, and then they ended up fixing it. Obviously, they had to break a hole in my wall to find it. They do that. All new flooring at my house, so Heather's happy. She likes with the floor, the color, all the stuff. So they redo the flooring. They have to redo all the cabinets, all the drywall. They have to fix the masonry work. Then they have to repaint the wall, do everything. It's done. Literally, I think it was done for 2 days. And then I come home. What did I come home? Saturday night? Yeah, and then Sundays, Heather's like, can you take the hose off of this pipe that's outside my house? And my house is built in 1959. It's all redone. I go, but some things are from 1959.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get this hose off with a wrench. And I know in my head, I'm like, I should just call the plumber to do this. So I try to hand crank it off, and I can't get it off. And so then I get the wrench out, and I do a couple turns, but this fucking thing just won't go. And I think it's a mix of the heat here and the water is obviously so hard. If you ever get a flat tire here in Arizona and it's the summertime, sometimes you can't get the tire off. You have to literally drop kick your fucking car. I know it sounds crazy to get the tire off. And literally in my brain, right before my last attempt, I'm like, I should just call the plumber, but I didn't. And so I crank it, and this pipe, dude, goes from left to right in the wall, and then water starts coming out from inside my wall, and I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. And anyways, long story short, I had to turn the water off, call the plumbing guy, so I couldn't use my bathroom and all those fun things for a day and a half. This is on Sunday, and Monday's Labor Day. So I call the plumbing guy, and luckily we have him essentially on retainer for our business and our house, and he came and had to re-break part of my wall again outside to fix the pipe. And now it's all fixed. Yeah, but he even came, he goes, even I had to cut the hose because it wasn't going to come off. But my point is that it's an important job, and it's never going away. And that's a skill that's in demand. And I'm not saying these other things aren't in demand, but ask yourself too, when you go through the programs you're going through, the things that you're paying for, what did I really learn? And what skills do I really have? And again, this is not an episode to bash on college, because you learn a lot of stuff how to live on your own and do those certain things. But when I graduated, and even if it was Jeremy, you graduated, cum laude, which is my GPA is super high, I have honors, right? I'm a dummy. Yeah. I don't really have any skills. I didn't learn anything super applicable to the business real world. And that's what people should be seeking out. And again, for decades, we taught people hey, if you don't go to school, you're a dummy and you're going to have these awful jobs and you'll never be successful. And now it's you look at the dudes in the trades, they're in such high demand, and the good ones crush for sure. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. And I think there is a paradigm shift of school will always be there and always be important, but there are other avenues to where it's yeah, I can't give you the college experience, but if you're hey, you want to run a small service business and make a shit ton of money, well, I can help you do that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's no shame in wanting to be in a trade. If that's your thing, go do it, because there's a huge need for it. And there's a lot less skilled and handy people out there than ever before. We're not living in the John Wayne, real man society anymore. We're living in an internet society. And again, there's even computer colleges for that sort of thing, So don't be ashamed of the trades or the things that you do. The other aspect of what we've been doing and what I've really enjoyed, and I don't want to say this is what I loved about the college experience. I liked going there. I look back and I'm very grateful for the time that I had. I get to study with Pat Tillman. That was kind of cool. Graduated the same class as him when they went to the Rose Bowl. And I was able to get an internship and actually I got more out of the internship working for Warner Brother Records and meeting famous people and doing all sorts of cool stuff than I ever did out of going to a class. I don't even think I can tell you what one of my classes was other than the generic like marketing or economics or whatever. I don't even know the grades I got. I obviously passed. But the experience of interning and living a real life and understanding that I was living the dream as a little kid to go meet these artists and these people that once I got into it, I realized, wow, these are all human beings, and even the music business is a business. People listen to music and they get so much joy out of it. And they're like, oh, this is great. This must be amazing to be an artist. And over the time that I got to learn about these people and how they operate and all the shit that they have to do, and like yeah, don't get me wrong, it's great. I mean, you get up on stage, you have, tens of thousands of people yelling at you, and you have a hit song, right? That's fun. But again, it's a business like any other business where people don't see the part where, they're having to stay up till 3 a.m. They're hardly getting sleep. They're traveling all over the place. They're never sleeping in the same bed. There's a lot of times drugs and alcohol and all sorts of other aspects of what go on. I got to learn about all of that stuff and realize that some of it was for me and some of it wasn't. And then I turned into an insurance agent. I didn't.
Went the other direction.
Right. I went the other direction, but I didn't. What I didn't really understand, and I still look back, is I don't think I learned anything in a curriculum that made me a better insurance agent. It's not like I went to insurance school. Now, I do go to school now for continuing ed and stuff like that in insurance, but college didn't make me the person and didn't help me become the success that I became today. I just think that was built into the personality of loving marketing and just being an extrovert, the way that I am.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I think, when they even pull statistics now, it's the network you make, like while you're in school. Like when they look at MBA programs, it's like you pay X amount to be surrounded by, Joe, Cindy, John, and Adam, and it's like if you can make the most out of that within the first like couple of years, like that's where kind of like the payoff becomes versus just I don't want to say canned information, but and again, I don't have an answer for the school stuff, but a lot of these things like you can just Google, and you can get access to it in 10 seconds, and I don't think you need to pay somebody to sit in a classroom to tell you some shit that you can get.
University of YouTube, dude.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
It's great.
And you can learn a lot of stuff from there. And that's like kind of that's how I look at like the offerings that like we try to give people now. It's like, well, let's just help you like be more successful and actually run a business and do what you want. Because again, they're all nuanced. Like I couldn't tell you the first thing about running like a Marriott because it's way too big and it's something I don't understand. I go, but these like a small service-based businesses, like they're all very similar. In a lot of ways.
Well, a lot of what we're doing is storytelling to these, younger gentlemen now. And we're living it every day, and we're able to give them a look inside of a lens of businesses that are, 20 years older than they are. And it's like, hey, I experienced this today, and I have a little bit more life experience and knowledge, and here's a mistake that I made that I'm going to share with you so you don't do the same thing, and that's, you can't, I mean, you can buy it because they're buying it from us per se, but you can't really, I mean, the amount of value is, you just can't put a price on it.
No, and I think when you look at like things like to invest in, like across the board, like in your life, and this goes for business, like your, if you want to think of it as your business money or your personal money, and if you're the owner, it's all your money at the end of the day anyway. Yeah. But does it make your life easier? Does it make your life better? And does it like shortcut your way to being successful? And when I look at like for me, like if I was to today, like go pay for, hey Jeremy, do you want to go get your PhD? I'm like, I don't really see the value in that for me. For a lot of people, there is some value in that. I'm like, but how much time does that take for me? How much money does that cost me? And what is the ROI in terms of like, not just education and like knowledge, but dollars?
Right.
And I don't know if that's there for a lot of people. So it's like, if I'm going to put in X, can I at least like get Y out? And that's like what I would tell anybody when they're looking to do something, whether it be, school. And if you want to do a thing, like you want to like do acupuncture, then you have to go to school and do that. I go, but just know here's how much time it takes, here's what it costs, and then what am I making on the back end? And then am I going to work for somebody else, or am I going to run my own business? Because those are two different things. Like if I'm a dentist, well, do you have your own practice or do you work in someone else's practice? Because those are two different paths to go. And one teaches you how to be the technician and actually do the task, and the other one's like, well, here's how I actually run the business.
Yeah, and at what point do you also become comfortable? I think society has become a society and aspect of a lot of comfortable people. And I don't know if being comfortable is ever going to work with being an entrepreneur, because there's so many times that I get uncomfortable, even to this day. And I think we all react different to certain situations. Like even before I walked into this podcast in my own office, I was on the email and I've got an irate customer, somebody that I've dealt with for years, right? And something out of my control had happened, but I take personal, I'll always take personal responsibility with it, whether it be emotionally or whether it be just, even from a business aspect of it. And a lot of times I don't think people want to deal with that sort of stress, and I don't know if you can be an entrepreneur and not have that stress in your life.
No, I think like we have this conversation a lot at work. I got a new girl who works with us, and the first thing I say is like, I'm not special. Well, like I'm not unique. I'm like, and you probably don't want to do what I do. Like you probably don't. The timelines are different. You're probably married to a different person. Like everything kind of had a kind of match up perfectly for me to be sitting here today. And I say that in the context of it's okay to like work in a business if you want to have more free time, if you want to be able to kind of turn things off and have like a different perspective. Like if it's your own stuff, you really never get to turn it off. It's kind of always with you. I joke about this a lot. Like I'm in a prison that I created for myself that I kind of like for some weird reason. And Heather's in the prison with me. Now she gets out on parole and can go do fun stuff. I go, but still we're all kind of like connected to it in some way, shape or form. And that's what you also have to like ask yourself, like, what is my ultimate goal? Like when people talk about work-life balance, like what does that mean? Like how much money do I need to make? How much do I want to work? What am I willing to invest into it? And again, with also like with no guarantee any of it ever works out.
Yeah.
And to me, if someone is listening to this and they're like, well, I kind of try my own thing. I'm like, there's a way to be, and I'll walk through like what I would suggest in terms of being like a reluctant entrepreneur. I go, but it's the only thing that you do that the longer you do it, the more likely you are to fail. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but the odds of like Jeremy Scott Fitness living on after I don't want to do it is fucking zero.
Yeah.
Like you're going to hand off bar and restaurant insurance to your kids. Like they probably don't.
No interest.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like every year it's like, yeah, the business grows and you create revenue streams and I get all that. I go, but it's how long do you want to do it and how long can you get jazzed up to do the same? Because this is a conversation I have like at my house and with a lot of people that I work with. We work with typically high earners who come to the gym and they're typically successful. They're type A people and they're all kind of, they get run down or they get jaded. And I love fitness like I do, but fitness and running businesses is not the same thing. And as much as I like it, there's days where you're like, do I want to do this shit today?
Yeah.
Because it is, even as different as you can make it, it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Right. And it will continue to be that way with some sprinkles of new things that are going to help you parlay the aspects of what you don't really want to do anymore just because you're old and you're tired. It's like, and that's exactly what happened to me. I mean, when I first got out of the music business, and this is such a mind fuck. Okay. Think about this. Not even an exaggeration. I'll show you the damn pictures if you want to see it. Like, I'm hanging out in Madonna's offices. I'm sitting on stage with Eddie Van Halen back when he was alive. I'm, welcoming, basically all these artists. It's just crazy. And I'm in my early 20s, and I'm driving Shania Twain around in a van to the airport tarmac on New Year's Eve while the police are escorting me. And I'm a kid. Like, who does that? Like, these record labels were smoking crack. Like, oh, we'll just let this kid do it. Yeah. But I showed enough responsibility. And then, everything just kind of, many aspects and many reasons between Apple Music and a lot of stuff that happened where the music industry just wasn't the same. And I was kind of like, I don't want to move to Minnesota. And that was my job offer, was Minnesota. And I'm like, I just don't see myself living there in the winter and being a record rep and making, $60,000 a year. And they could get away with paying you minimally because it was such a sought-after job, because you got to hang out with these people. You got to promote these records, go into radio stations, take people to go look at, if they're men program director, naked women. If they were, women, you'd take them to go get massages, that sort of thing. It was a whole... there's a lot of good music books if you guys ever get a chance to kind of dig into it, but the whole aspect of like pay to play, it's real shit. It's like however greasy you could get the wheel that your album was, that you were promoting was going to get played on the radio.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just how the world works, folks, whether you want to hear it or not. So I get out of that. And I go to start selling insurance and, just literally knocking on people's doors. And I'm still a 20-something-year-old kid, and I go from that frame of life to, hey, would you be interested in doing your, renter's insurance and your auto insurance, with me? And, I mean, what a kick in the nuts if you think about it. Like, what world am I living in, right?
Well, it's like it goes from like being like an athlete to like a normal job and
to selling BMWs.
I'll always go back to like playing sports one year, and then the next year I'm going to a job interview at Enterprise, and the lady's like, if it gets backed up, like you have to go wash cars. I'm like, in my dress clothes. She's like, well, yeah, and I'm sitting there like, this lady doesn't give a fuck about anything that I just did for my entire life. And I'm like, here I am in this world. And those are the little moments where like, yeah, I'll die doing something else before I go do this for anyone else. And I guess the question I would ask you, like, if someone is out there and like, whether it's insurance or any industry really, like, what would you tell them today? Like someone who's listening, like, hey, I want to start my own insurance agency, if that's even a thing. Like, how fucking hard would that be today?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and I just did a solo podcast on this, and it's called Don't Let the Industry Define You. So there's many mechanisms and many things that go into getting into something that's going to make you revenue and make you money. And so the first thing I would say is make it about people. If you're a people person, just make it about people. Even if you're not a people person, make it about the people. That takes the aspect of, hey, I'm an attorney, I'm an insurance agent, I'm a banker, I'm a mortgage guy, I'm a gym owner. It takes the aspect of what you do out of it, but who you are. And when you put who you are out there and you make it about the people, then what you're offering is just ancillary. Because most of the thing, the reason why people work is because they have a product or a service that other people need.
Solves a problem.
It just solves, exactly. And so what I did with insurance was I took my rock and roll background, I took my personality, I took my stories and my talking points, and I told those stories. And I found a niche in hospitality which parlays into rock and roll in its own way, because all these chefs and all these people, it's a very rock and roll lifestyle. It's like owning a restaurant is very rock and roll, and you're there, you're performing, you're putting stuff out there. So I parlayed what I did, and I didn't make it about insurance. I made it about entertainment. I made it about telling stories of what I did before, and I made it about them understanding that they could trust me. And then over time, I was able to save up money, and I was able to become one of them. And what I mean by that is you invest in them. You don't go out and buy the Porsche, okay, right away. You
never buy the Porsche.
You never buy the Porsche. We can talk about that later. Good Lord. But the thing is, I never did that right away. I told this story before on your podcast. I drove a minivan. Great. And I stockpiled money, and I lived in a place that cost me $500 a month. It was my own little condo over at the Point. It was great. Never bought the 5,000 square foot house right away that I couldn't afford the mortgage. took all of that money and I reinvested back in the industry that I wanted to service, the most with insurance. And what I mean by that is I had plenty of opportunities to invest in restaurateurs, people that I entrusted. One of the biggest ones was a guy named Julian Wright. We're still friends to this day. 25 years I've been working with him. He owns Pedal House Brewery out here. And I probably invested in like 5 or 6 of his concepts. Did well, did great. At the time, though, I was releasing $25,000 to $50,000 to get a share of those, companies, those restaurants at the time. And what that did is it was like going to school in essence. It was like buying a bachelor's degree in hospitality. And when you invest in something and you go in and you learn about it and you work it, and you can parlay this into any sort of business that you want, any niche that you're trying to find, you become the specialist. You become somebody that has, they have a relationship with the other people that are doing that, and you can go in and say, oh, I'm a restaurant owner too. And then it just puts all the guard down. Everybody's just like, oh, wow, that's cool. We want to talk to you. Tell us about the restaurant industry.
Like, how hard would that be today? Like, for somebody, like, this is it. Like, they're like, you know what? I've seen what you've done. I want to do what Dave does. Like, even if it was me, and I'm like, hey, Dave, I want to start Jeremy's Insurance.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is that shit today? The climb from 0 to, well, maybe not 0, because I do know a shit ton of people. So it's not like that wouldn't be 0. But if I was 27 years old and I'm super motivated and I'm jacked, and I'm like, this is really what I want to do. I see the money you make. I see, kind of how you get to live your life. I want to kind of mimic that. Like, how hard is that climb today in 2025 versus back in the day?
Here's the problem. The business model doesn't work anymore. The insurance business model doesn't work for somebody that's just starting out. You have to go get, if you're going to be a broker like me, you have to go get company contracts. Most companies don't want to lend anybody starting out a contract. They want a commitment. They want $1 million in premium. So now what? Okay, great. You're a one-man shop and you're going to write $1 million premium with company A, B, C, and D. You're going to go out and hustle. It takes probably 3 to 5 years to get like a $2 or $3 million book, and then you're really not making any money. You're paying expenses off that, so you better have a savings account. I mean, the model is just broken, and now there's so much to do with online access. There's so much to do with like a lot of other stuff that it's not old school. When my dad would knock on doors and there was, Allstate Insurance, and he was able to microfiche people, and they would sign the deal right there on the dotted line with the piece of paper. Now there's just so much access to so many things that it's tough, and there's a lot of people that are doing it half-assed. There's a lot of people that are doing it great. There's a lot of quote-unquote competition out there with people that are just like, oh, I mean, at least with me, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, I do restaurants, and they literally write like 2 restaurants a year. But they just kind of, because they can so easily access tools that they've had because they've been in business for a elongated time. So to answer your question, to just jump in fresh and to start, most people don't just go and start an insurance brokerage. They end up working for somebody else, and then they think that they're getting screwed because they're only getting 50% of the revenue that comes in, not realizing that it probably costs about 70% of the revenue that they bring in to run the business, because you got to pay for the computers, you got to pay for the phones, you got to pay for the customer service, you got to pay for all this stuff. I think that's the biggest mistake that people don't realize, is the back end and the amount of expense that it takes to just even run your own business.
And like when something goes wrong, like you eat all the shit.
100%.
The phone calls come to you.
Yeah.
Not to them.
Yeah.
So most people will go to like a big, just to say random names, like an Allstate or Geico, or they'll go wherever, and that's like where they work.
Yeah, and if something goes wrong, they're calling 1-800-GEICO, and they're getting a different person every time. And that person doesn't give a shit. Oh, sorry, Mr. Jones. Looks like we made a mistake.
Well, that person's probably not there in 3 months.
No, what do they care?
Yeah, dude, that's the tough part too, because it's like you're trying to give people like a path, but like it's just every era is different, and with technology, how things have changed and shifted and moved so much. There is way more opportunity now, for sure, than there's ever been.
Well, let's throw the question back to you. How hard would it be to go start a brick and mortar gym with all the other gyms going on and all the stuff going on? And this is not a knock, but I do want to ask the question from your perspective. Is CrossFit even around anymore?
I mean, they're around. They did. I mean, some dude died in the last CrossFit Games.
Oh, no.
He drowned.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's on the video. It's fucked
I had
up.
no idea.
Yeah, like maybe...
Horrible.
That dude couldn't have been more than... I'm going to forget his name for people who follow it close. He couldn't have been more than... Fuck, dude. 100 yards from the,
oh, God.
From the shore. And people are like finishing. They had lifeguards out there too, which is wild. I don't really know. I think BJ talked about it on his podcast. Like they did, it was kind of like a reverse. I don't know the entire workout, so someone can check me if I'm wrong. But I know they finished with the swim. And whether he cramped or did whatever, and I'm like, yeah, just boom. It exists, obviously. Like you drive by, like you'll see... I don't see a ton of them. Like obviously, like where we are at, like if I go to work, like that, what is it, Camelback CrossFit, which is like by Independence.
Oh yeah.
It seems like they're busy doing their stuff there. It's just they shit the bed, I think, on a lot of things. I don't think the name is worth anything. So if someone was like, "Hey, I want to pay for like a CrossFit affiliate," I think it's a complete fucking waste of money.
Yeah.
I'd rather light it on fire in my backyard to stay warm.
It's seen its season, basically.
Yeah, like there's a lot of good things about it. There's a lot of good things that they do. They've done a lot of good things for fitness, but the brand itself, I think what are you paying for? Like, I wouldn't join it just because it says the name. Do you want to do the same workouts? Because that's not fucking hard to replicate. Like,
right.
You can do all the same. It's the same way I think of like whatever Orange Theory is. Like,
right.
I put no value on the name. Actually, I think it's fucking worse you call it that. No offense to anybody. I'm like, you could just call it your own shit or just make up like Ben Novak is a buddy of mine. He's been on the podcast. Like, it's called Spire Health Club. That actually means nothing to me. I'm like, but I'd rather go there than do that. And to do a brick and mortar, like depending on where you live, it's all, geographically, it kind of matters. I wondered that because like I was gone for a handful of days. I worked out at this gym, and this place it's a 24-hour key fob. You could go in. I think I paid for you could have paid daily, but like I don't want to fill out a form every day, so I just paid for the week.
Was it Planet Fitness?
No. It was just like, it's like an independent.
Okay.
But you could just scan the QR code in, which was great.
Yeah.
And the place had to be 6,000 square feet. It was fucking big. They had so much equipment, and you can just go in and use it. And I'm like, this is great, but I'm like, what this would cost in like where we live, like that gym space alone here would be $3 million minimum. The base rent would be like 15 G's a month, like plus. Like, so you got to ask yourself, like, hey, where do I live? Who's my demo? What does it look like? And how much, I frame it like this way, how much fitness or how many jumping jacks do I got to sell to kind of break even?
Right.
And so if you're somewhere where like, it's not oversaturated, I think you probably have a better bet. If you're, and this is not a knock on the Midwest, like I love it there, but if you're in nowhere, Wisconsin, you probably got to be the only show in town, to really make it. If there's a bunch of places, because again, it becomes like a race to the bottom. Now there is, in fitness it's different because they have all these premium options now where I do think those can do well, like where Equinox has, like if you pay $50,000 a year, you get this like super high level thing, but it's such a small demo of people who can afford that. And to be honest with you, I'm a fitness person. I think that's a complete fucking waste of money.
Right.
I would never pay for that. So if you just wanted to do a brick and mortar, if you could get a small space and you had a model that worked, like small group training, or if it's PT, and the base rent wasn't going to murder you, and you wanted to work a lot of hours yourself, or you could get, I hate to say it this way, like how Starbucks does it, or any franchise for that matter, you hire the worst people. And this is not a knock if you work there, but the franchises are only successful because they hire the lowest common denominator. They get the cheapest fucking people they can. That's how it works.
Yeah.
They can't hire good people because it's not profitable. So if you got one other like good person, you could kind of pay, but it'd be tough, dude. And you got to build a community. And
Yeah.
start it from scratch it's a tough thing. But yeah, it can be done if you're willing to like grind your ass off and work the hours. For most people who are starting any kind of small business, if you can keep the overhead low and you're willing to do a lot of the work up front until you can kind of scale it out and pay it, like, yeah, it can be done. But like where we live in Scottsdale, would I want to start an actual brick and mortar gym? You got to be out of your fucking mind, dude. There's so many in such a small area, and to gain trust and like put the money in. Because if I think about it, like equipment alone, like for even our space, we got a 3,000 square foot facility. I probably got $250,000 like worth of just like equipment.
Wow.
And I'm like, you want to go to that's why I say, like, if you're somebody who's like listening, like I want to start a coffee shop, or I want to start a salon or whatever. I don't know all the overhead of that stuff. I'm assuming like a lot of those things do get expensive. So what you're doing is you're going to your partner, like your husband or wife or your family, and saying, hey, we're going to spend, and most of you probably don't have $300K just sitting in a checking account.
No.
And if you don't, now you're going to go beg for a loan to start this business. And that's, again, I'm going to tie this back to school and just crush school in 2 seconds here. Like, that's how insane. Like, and again, I like college. I had a great experience. I would do it over again in a heartbeat. Some of my best friends I made there, like, I learned a lot of stuff about life, not so much about like actually working. But a student is such a shitty investment, because you walk in and like you're going to go to college, and it's like, hey, what do you want to do? I have no fucking clue. I want to get a degree in karate. They're like, okay, cool, dude. Here's $80,000, and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
If I walk in to not me today, but me at 25, I walk into Wells Fargo or Bank of America and say, hey, I'm going to start this business. What's it called? Jeremy Scott Fitness. What are you going to do? I'm going to teach bear crawls. And I have a business plan, and I have like kind of some like semi projections, even though they're bullshit. And I ask them for 80 grand. They'll laugh me out of the fucking room. Huh. You know why? Because I'm a shitty investment. Because they don't think they're going to get their money back. Yet, if you walk into ASU, they'll give you 80 grand and you even know what the fuck you want to do. That's nonsense.
Right.
And that's where it's like, you have to like, so to tie it back to young kids and parents, just think it through, and have your kids think it through of like what they're going to do and what that ROI looks like. Because if you took the name school off it and you applied it to a business, they'd really make you map it out and have like some idea of what you're going to make for what you're going to pay. So like paying, again, and I love teachers and it's a great job and there's no fucking way I could do it, and I respect what you do, but paying $100,000 to be a third grade teacher, dude, that is dead weight. That's going to kill you for the rest of your life, and it will drag you down, and they wouldn't give you that money to go start a coffee shop. So I don't think they should do it to have you be a third grade teacher. And that's what I tell people to look at, is like, how much money do you have to spend up front overhead? And you know, when I came up in fitness, specifically here, we were doing this shit in a park, dude. When it's 111 degrees out, I'm doing this shit in a park, which is wild. And then when I got into a facility, I had some bands, I had a couple dumbbells.
Yeah.
Like it was dog shit. You'd walk into it today and you'd be like, this is fucking embarrassing. You built the business on this? And I'm like, I did. I go, I don't know if you can do that anymore, because people are expecting like a different standard to walk into. And so for you to walk into like what I have will literally cost you millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And no sane husband or wife would sign on to do that, because it's just like, it's just a lot, man. It's a lot, dude.
Well,
if you start small and you build it like how you should, then but most people who start, they want to do everything right off the bat. So they're like, well, I want to have all the best stuff and all this. I didn't have that day one.
No.
It took me, everything you see today took the entire time it took to get here.
So so to parlay on that, let's talk about when you first started, did you even know what a P&L was?
I mean, if you would have said the term, I would have been like, no. Now, the only thing I can say to you is, and again, my dad is by no means a financial genius. He's 66. He still fucking works his ass off. I think he would work even if he had $10 million. It's just, he's something wrong with him. I go, but budgeting, I did understand.
Right.
Like, you know, like how we grew up, and that's the one thing for anybody who's listening, this will save you. Like, I'm not telling you how to spend your money and how to live your life. I go, but when we grew up, it was like, you get paid. Like, you go to work and you get paid. The first thing you do is you work. That's it.
Yeah.
And whatever time you have left over, that's your free time. Do what the fuck you want with it. But you go to work. You get paid money. And, like, the way I do it now is like, well, we invest a certain amount of it, and we pay bills with a certain amount of it, we save a certain amount of it, and then we can fuck around with the rest. My dad's kind of motto was like, you pay your bills, that's the first thing you do. Whatever's left over, that's your money. And you can save some for when things go wrong, because they're always going to.
Yep.
You know, he was not so big on the investing side, just a different era, kind of a different time. Not that they wouldn't do the 401k shit. I go, and that's what I did. And then he goes, well, if you have a credit card, which he gave me at 16, he's like, you use this for gas. You put gas in your car with your credit card, you can build credit, and then you pay it off at the end of the month. You never pay these fucking mafia criminals 26% on your credit card, because it will fucking bury you. And then it was like, if you do, you know, buy a house, his whole thing was like, you pay the mortgage. And then if you can pay it off early, you pay it off early, like all the normal things. So that was ingrained in my head because I never had money.
Yeah.
And the one thing that, like, A, you grew up in a place of scarcity because there is not abundance. And two, I knew I didn't want to be broke as fuck forever. And then I'm like, well, I sure as hell don't want to be paying monster interest on debt because I see how that cripples people. So that probably the only saving grace I knew of, like, how to manage money. So that would be my version of, like, what a P&L sheet even was.
Well, what I see a lot in my industry, when I say my industry, I talk about the hospitality aspect of my industry, and I see a lot of people that go in and they're like, well, I'm going to open up a, you know, little fine dining restaurant. Cool. I'm going to spend about, and let's just say it's a 3,000 square foot restaurant, fine dining. You know what? We're going to spend about $2 million on the build out. Then we're going to spend another $500,000 on equipment.
Where does that money come from?
Well, investors, a lot of it, they will,
like individuals
that will, you know, put in 50 here, 100 there, this and that. Sometimes they get loans, this and that. Now, just think about that. You're 2.5 in, you haven't even opened your doors. That doesn't even include like a marketing budget. It doesn't include, you know, how many years do you have to be in business in order for that to work? And a lot of these restaurateurs and a lot of these restaurants, they have a lot of a vanity outlook on them. It's kind of like, oh, I want my own place. I want to have my name on it. I mean, I just had a horror story of one of my clients out in Texas was involved with another guy, and they had invested some money into a place that they were going to partner with a guy that they had met. This guy was not a restaurateur, not a nightclub guy, but he had money. He had, you know, somehow gotten a bunch of money. And sometimes money can be, let's just say, one of those things that doesn't push you forward. It actually pushes you backwards because you have so much and you're not realizing like what the circumstances of your decisions could be. And so in this case, my friend, partner, or customer, he was like, we had to pull out. We had put a couple $100,000 in. We actually had gotten our money back. But the problem is that this nightclub went from being $1 million, you know, in to be built out to ended up being $5 million because he needed to have the tile that was, you know, upgraded. He needed to, the bar was perfectly placed where they wanted it, but he didn't like it because he wanted to be like the center of attention. So they literally had to move the plumbing. They had to move a bunch of stuff in order to move the whole bar. That alone was hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, just things that people get so wrapped up in that if you're legitimately running a business, it's not important. You know, you will never make your money back. And a lot of times people will go in and they'll, even if it's a small coffee shop, even if they didn't invest that much money from the beginning, they will end up not realizing that, wow, maybe this isn't for me because I'm only bringing $30,000 to the bottom line. And that might be all that you can bring to a little place like that.
Well, that's where it's like, you don't spend money you don't have. Like, that's kind of how I always looked at it. Like, and again, I understand some of these places could never exist without investor money, but like, one of the worst feelings would have to be is like, whether it's, you know, even like if it's your parents or your friends or like private equity people and you can't pay them back.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you feel like I know, and I'll reference BJ here because I remember when BJ started this thing called StreamFit, which is like, essentially like the first kind of streaming platform in terms of like what fitness was, and it was just too early in the game.
Yeah.
And I think he got like $150,000 of like investor money, and he just wasn't able to pay it back. And he's like, it was the worst feeling in the world to have that and kind of be like under somebody's thumb and like have to make the phone call of like, hey man, this didn't work. I can't pay you. And like, obviously I never wanted to do that. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money I don't have. And I'm like, I'll just do things in pieces over time. Like that to me seemed like I could sleep easier at night and it wasn't that big of a headache. But it's the same way I look at like even consumer spend, like, right? Like if you're going to start a business and you're like, well, I have this influx of money. I'm like, yeah, but it's not your money, bro. You owe somebody else. It's like when you use and there's a pain points in the brain. They have all the studies that are on this. Like when you use a credit card, you'll swipe all day. And it feels like nothing happened. Man. If you go on Amazon and you just fucking one click, dude, you can have 8,000 boxes show up at your house. It feels like nothing. When you actually take paper money out and you hand it to somebody, like you at the grocery store, it's painful, dude.
It is.
Because you feel like it's all your money at the end of the day. I go, but because it's a tangible, real thing, you give it. And so when I look at like my accounts and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to spend 40 grand on this, I'm going to watch 40 G's go away. So that thing better be worth it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be under the 8 ball thinking like, okay, now I got to sell X amount of meals or I got to have this many customers to just get. If you told me, dude, I have to get back to $2 million in just doing fitness, bro, it would just like, it would wear me out.
Yeah.
Like it really would. Like,
would you go back to enterprise?
I mean, I would probably still fucking do fitness versus enterprise, but it's just a lot. I don't know. I would be like, if you can keep your overhead low, man, it just seems like a much better model. Because again, like, what is in any business you guys start, like, what kind of work-life balance, like, does it give you, and what do you need? And like, I can't think of anything. There is more stressful things, but like I have no idea because I've never done anything in terms of like food costs and what that is. Like, these people who run coffee shops, like even the one that we go to, it used to be
Echo.
Echo's still like Echo. But
Maverick up there.
But Echo's a different owner.
Yeah.
So the guy who used to own it was it
Steve?
Yeah. And so now that one of the younger kids owns it, I forget his name. He's a nice guy. And it's the same coffee, and they do have the best espresso, in my opinion. But the other one that's close to us at work used to be Maverick, and then it was Mythical, and now it's something Tommaso's.
I haven't been in there in a while.
Yeah. And it's just not. The coffee's still good. I go, but it's multiple people going through multiple things.
Yep.
Hey, let us renovate. Let us do this. And I'm like, it just seems like a stressful thing when you don't understand all the pieces that are involved in it.
Well, I want to talk about BJ. If you happen to be listening to this, brother, I've got you here. So I invested and opened up a restaurant. It was part of a group out of Arizona. I was the first one to open it up in San Diego with a couple of partners of mine. Now, I did invest about 125 G's of my own money into this. This is pre-Kim, okay, my wife, which thank God for her, because I think that was the last decision I made like that. But I also raised another, I think, 1.5 million from other people, okay? And I guess I feel a little bit better about it, but still bad that it didn't work, because that's pretty much what happened. It didn't work because I did put a little bit of my own money in it. Everybody was on board. They were excited about it. This concept hits home runs in Arizona, and we're just like, for sure will translate in California, right? Well, Arizona and California, two different things, in many ways, more than one. And, after, I think it was a couple years, after a couple years, we failed. Closed shop, and all of those people lost their money.
And 125 G's less.
Yeah, 120. But again, that's an expensive college. That's an expensive learning experience. I mean, the stuff that I had to do during those 2 years to try and save that restaurant, to operate it, I would drive from Phoenix, my condo, on a Wednesday at 3 a.m, get out there by a little before lunch. I would be working, the insurance business, and then I would go in and I would work the restaurant, the rest of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, drive back on Sunday. I mean, it was like, what was I thinking, right? But so much experience from that.
Well, and again, like that's kind of like the part, like that's a path to success that people don't talk about. They kind of just look at, the end result. Yeah. So like in terms of like, when did your schedule like shift in the business? Like, hey, I'm going to build this business to make, X amount of dollars. And at what point did you start to get like a schedule or like oh, it's not just work 24/7, 365. Because I think that's something like the internet does like a poor job showing. And again, this is not to say like Dave is special or I'm special. I'm like, anybody who's run their own business and does it for an extended period of time has worked their fucking ass off. And there's a lot of things that play into it. Their luck is involved, timing is involved, and hard work. All those things definitely. I go, but now it's like you'll see things where it's like, okay, be an entrepreneur. Like that's every fucking post on Instagram and everything on the internet. And it's like, that's horseshit, dude. Everybody can't be that. Everybody is not an A player. Like there needs to be B, C, and D players for organizations to run and be successful. Mine wouldn't be successful without it, and neither would yours. And I think we do people a disservice of only sharing like highlight reels of like, oh, where everybody's crushing and everybody's winning and every day is fucking great. And that's not true. And also like there is this disproportionate amount of like lack of work-life balance that exists. And like my schedule now is drastically different than it was 5 years ago, especially from what it was 10 years ago. And it probably took me until the last, I still work a lot because I do a lot of things because I want to do certain things. And I like probably 95% of the shit that I do. I go, but I'm doing way less of the shit that I used to do now. And it took me probably a good 10, probably even like 11 or 12 years to kind of get to that balance point. And most people listening, I can help you do it way faster, obviously, because I'm way smarter now, and you don't got to be as dumb as me. I go, but that's how long it took me, and I'm sure it took you a disproportionate amount of time as well.
It did. Look, like you, I love to work, but the love for the work I'm doing has changed over time, because as you get more into something, you get deeper into it. Like the thrill of writing an insurance policy, it's still there, but the thrill of getting a phone call and somebody saying, hey, my bill went up. Hey, can you add this mortgagee clause? Hey, this claim's gone awry. Again, I will still do my job and I will do what I need to do to help people, but that's not all on me anymore. Those are the aspects of my job that I just don't enjoy. I love sales. I love marketing. I love being able to put people with a good company, give them something that they're going to have to buy anyways, right? And I will take the good with the bad, absolutely. But now I'm at a point where I've been successful enough to bring a lot of good people into my mix and let those good people do the stuff that they love. They don't want to go out and sell. They don't want to go talk to people. They don't want to talk about what's going on in the environment of hospitality or insurance or this and that. They're just not, that's not how they're built. So my suggestion for people listening as you're building your company is find people that you can build your structure around that are fit for those positions. So they're all ladies, except for my business partner, Dave. They're all fit to be able to take those phone calls and to process these things. I don't do any processing anymore. I don't even know how to quote. I couldn't even go on the computer, and some people are like, you should know everything aspect of your business. I know enough to be dangerous to make a phone call to get something done. Like, here's a website, give me a quote on this sort of thing. But I have great people that can go in and they do all that stuff all the time. All I do is now just kind of move information over. So it allows me to answer your question. It's probably taking me a good, I would say 15 years to get to that point where I wasn't quoting anymore. I wasn't like servicing anything. Like literally, if I get a service call, that's great. If people want to call me because they feel comfortable because I'm the owner of the company, and it's like, hey dude, can you check on this bill? Absolutely. Sandy will give you a call back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm still able to do this, because if I wasn't able to spend the money on good people to do good things for other good people, I would be stuck in the rut of doing all the same stuff, and I would probably be I would be an angry, shriveled up old man right now.
Yeah, well, then it becomes a job.
It becomes a job, yeah.
And you're doing the things that you don't want to do on a consistent basis. And I always look at it like, if you get to the point of where you can like afford to do that, what is it worth that you're going to pay somebody, $50,000 a year to do all these tasks and take all this stuff off of your back? Where if you just like, well, yeah, but it's $50,000. I'm like, yeah, but if you kept it, you're going to pay taxes on it anyway. So how much do you really get to keep?
Right.
And now you're doing all these tasks that you hate, and now you don't have any free time. And that's like kind of the one thing where if you get to a point where you can kind of reach this critical mass of like you're making money, but you're so busy you don't even have time to enjoy it or spend it, like what is the kind of the point of it? And when you're your business now is just a really busy, stressful job, like what was the point? And this is not a knock on anybody. Like, I don't know what your goal is. Like, my goal was never to own 15 different gyms and make $45 million a year. That was never my goal. My goal is like, I don't want to fucking hate Wednesday. Yeah. And I kind of want to just like wear essentially sweatpants to work and like listen to rap music. And,
yeah, we're twinsies today. We're both wearing our pink sweatsuits.
Yeah, I want to wear hoodies to work, dude, and like just have a, not that it's not stressful, because it is, but I'm like, I wanted to enjoy it.
So, valid point here. And back to what you're saying and what I had just said is that, I have friends in the same industry, and one in particular that I can think of now. They do all the shit. Like, they have a hard time of letting go. And I will say that was one of my hardest things. Like, if you're
same here.
Yeah, if you're building a business and you have not figured out the structure to be able to let go of responsibilities and entrust those that you've brought in, keep working on that. Keep working on yourself to be able to do that. Especially, look, here's the weird dichotomy is that most people that are entrepreneurs are type A. Type A are just like, fuck it, I'll just go get it done myself. It's quicker that way, right? Always had been like that. Again, I had to entrust in the right people that I put in place. Now, when I get an email and I'm CC'd on something that my service reps, on, I won't even respond. I used to respond to everything. Oh, we'll make sure we get this out to you. It's like, what a fucking waste of time, right? And then my service people are getting pissed at me like, do you not know why I'm here? You paid me to do this job. So that took a lot of practice. It took a lot of trust. It took a lot of maybe some stuff went awry, but most of the time it did not. My people are doing a great job. So I still have some friends in the industry, and one in particular that he still does all of his service work. And I remember being out at their vacation house. They invited us out. We do have friends in the industry that we can, hang out with. And he couldn't leave to go to the lake that day because he had to work on this, big account and issue like ID cards and certificates and answer these billing questions and all these things. I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, I haven't done that in like years. Like, what the hell? And he's like, I don't want to pay anybody else to do it. And so when you start hoarding all that money, you start losing time. You start getting stressed. You start losing your health. I just see it in a lot of these people. And so if you just become this person that has to do everything, then just know that you're going to be that person that has to do everything.
Well, it's just a terrible job that you can never escape. And again, I understand like maybe the first couple of years, like you have to do that.
Yeah, this dude's older than me.
But at some point, dude, like with the amount of people who are looking to do work, like whether it be on like Upwork, Elance, Fiverr, whatever, like you can offload virtual assistants, like you name it. There's a lot of, and when you find good people too, because it's the same thing, like where most people who want to run their own business and do their own shit, like, well, I can just do it better than everybody else. Well, you can until you can't, dude, because there's only so many skills you can learn. And you might think you're really good. Like, I learned, like, we used to use this program called Infusionsoft, which fuck Infusionsoft, but like we used it for a decade plus, and I had to go through a training and I learned it and I got really good at it. And I'm like, oh, I can do all the things on Infusionsoft. And then fast forward a couple years, I meet my boy Matt, and Matt has been with me for probably the last like 7 or 8 years. And it would take me 2 hours for shit he can do in 2 minutes. And I'm not exaggerating, like that is literally time for time. And there's things that I would never be able to figure out, he'll literally do in 30 seconds. And it's like, whatever he wants to charge me, it's worth it because he is just better at me. He saves me so much time, headache, and energies, and I can just like send him stuff and it just gets done. And like that's the point of it, is to create not just your ideal kind of business, but like your ideal kind of life around it. You're still going to have to work your ass off at the things you're good at, but also having enough like self-awareness to be, I'm not good at these things, and I can pass them off to like, even like Monica, who works for me. She's everything that I'm not.
Yeah.
She is a mom. She does shit like a fucking kindergarten teacher would do it. I write like a like a guy who broke his hand. Like, I'm awful at things. Like, she makes things just look pretty and neat and nice and organized like a mom would do, you know? And it's like, she's everything that I can't be. And I'm like, that's worth it to me to offload that stuff and basically cover the gaps in what I'm not good at. And that's a huge part, I think, of anybody running a business is like, when you hire people, yes, it's an expense if you look at it that way, but it's also an investment because they're built, whether they actually bring in people and then bring in clients and stuff, it's not even that. It's they're keeping the culture, they're keeping the community, and they're doing all the tasks that you laid out for them, and they're doing them fast, efficient, and probably better than you would do it because you're too overrun anyway.
So remember this, I mean, from my perspective, hopefully this can be a good tip for everybody. Remember that you're not necessarily hiring for the job, you're hiring for the person. And if the person's a good person and they're trainable, anybody can learn a job, you know? And most of my service reps here, I want to say most, pretty much most, maybe more than half, they came from, and again, this is an insurance business, they came from, you know, college, one fresh out of college, one like was working at a pool company, one was at a church. Those three people alone have been with me over a decade, and I would put them up against anybody in insurance that has been there 20, 30 years and has been educated because of the systems that they've been able to learn, you know, through what they've done here. So if you find a good person that's loyal and you take care of them, that's the thing too, is like, I don't like to go cheap on the pay, on the benefits, on the time off. I mean, my wife, and I'm sure she'll listen to this and roll her eyes at this, her and I have a couple of different aspects of how, you know, a business should run and how, what employees can or cannot get away with. I can't grow and I can't do the things and have the freedom without them, because then it goes back to that situation of I'm doing all this stuff and I'm stressed and it's stuff I don't want to do. The issue becomes if you don't really allow them the freedoms as adults to do the things that they do, then they start sniffing around in other places because the grass is always greener, even though it may not be. So I like to have people that are comfortable. They can take care of their families. They can go, look, if Betty needs to go work at home today because her kids are sick, go home, right? If you have COVID for the 18th time and you need to go home and work, go do it. I entrust you. You don't need to take a day off of your pay scale or whatever. If you can lay in bed and type on your computer and get some stuff done, I'm totally cool with it. I don't sit here and I look at, you know, calendar the days or have punch cards like back in the old days. I just have to entrust that the job's going to get done. And the only way I can monitor that is if I get complaints. And most 99.9% of the time, I don't get complaints. So obviously something's working in that. And it's a little loose-ended.
Well, I mean, it's like you get what you pay for one, with people. You really do. And without the flexibility and the freedom, like nobody wants to work in an environment where they're micromanaged like crazy. Like even for us, that's why I've had someone working for me for 10 years. I'm like, and I don't care. And one of like the jobs in our place, it's like, and I do think the work from home thing, if you get people who are not like complete lazy pieces of shit, like it's to their benefit.
Right.
Like, what do I care if, like, for our job, like we load YouTube videos, like literally dozens per week. Why does Monica have to be in our office, like loading YouTube videos when she can sit at her kid's soccer game and just load my, you know, half naked body on YouTube? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, that doesn't take like you being somewhere. I'm like, but the flexibility, it allows you to do that when you're on vacation. And I'm like, why would we not do that? And I think for anybody, like if you, and obviously if you've ever hired anybody or had people work with you or for you, the money you pay them, the flexibility and the freedom, but they're part of the team. Like they work with you. They don't feel like they work for you.
Yeah.
And they have some control over their day. And it's way easier to keep people that are good than go try to find someone else out there and replace them, because it is the biggest pain in the ass to get someone like to learn your community, to learn your culture, and to like not just like the task of the systems, but just like to kind of fit into your, you know, I guess your team, if you will.
Yeah. And you bring up a word called vacation, and you know, I've gotten to know you very well over the years. Obviously, we're now running a business together and you know, doing all this sort of stuff. And I see you probably 2-3 times a week. But how has vacation changed for you, just even over the last couple of years, where you're able to unplug and not necessarily have to be on your phone all the time or answering questions?
I mean, like, I set it up, like, way different. Like, there's just things in our business that, like, they work different than they used to. I'll still bring my computer everywhere I go.
Yeah.
If there's certain things I have to get on for, I'll get on for them. But now there's days where, and the phones have just gotten way better, sadly. Where I don't have to get on the computer and open it up, and I can do things ahead of time. And literally, it's just kind of like checking in on things. And for me, it's more personality type of like where Heather can come back and have her email be at like 700.
Yeah.
Where that would just give me like a panic attack. And so if there's bullshit, I want to just get rid of it like right up front. And it's easy for me. Like, I don't feel like that's work. Where some people get up and I don't know everybody's normal morning routine, but I see enough people and they get up and they just scroll on social media like endlessly for 20 straight minutes looking at God knows what. I really have no interest in that other than if I fell asleep like during a basketball game, I can check the score. I get up and I'm like, let me just go through the messages real quick if I can. If I have texts, if I have whatever, and I'm like, and I can clear it, and then I'm on with my day.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't think about it because the people I have now who do the shit that they have to do for me, they're really good. And if I get like a delay, like the other day, like Dee is on our app team, I text her, was it Tuesday night? I think it was Tuesday night, and she didn't get back to me. And I woke up and she had texted me like, oh, sorry for the delay. And like, you don't have to say sorry for the delay, but usually it's in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I just know if I send her something or Matt something or Monica something, or if I leave, they know what they're supposed to do. Like, I never come back to anything that's crazy. So putting good people in place just makes it where I don't have to think about it. Where before I'd be like, well, are they going to fuck something up?
Yeah.
Like, and obviously, like, we've had random things where, like, back in the day, this girl, Kelly, who worked for me for years and I love her to death, she, like, locked Nate in the bathroom on a Tuesday. And our old place was different. Like, the shower was in her place.
Love that shower.
And so he was in the shower and she locked him in and turned off the lights and left the building. And I'm in Los Angeles and Nate's calling me like, hey, bro, I'm locked in your building right now. What do I do? I'm like, well, just open up the back garage door, dude, and sneak out and then close it so it looks like it's locked. Like, we would have to deal with like kind of shit like that. But now I don't. And so it's just made it like where, not that you forget about your business, because I always have ideas and certain things, but I definitely don't worry about it. And because I've been doing this for so long, it's like I don't panic when we lose money. Like, I don't panic when someone sends me a message of like, hey, Jeremy, I'm quitting, you suck. Like, and they don't really write that, but that's how I read it anyway. But I don't worry about that shit obviously as much, because I'm like, it's just part of the game, dude.
Yeah.
So it's a way better experience. And knowing that you've done all the things that you can do and you've put your people in place, so when you leave, it's not like the whole thing's going to collapse without you. Obviously, if I was gone for a year, I think most people would quit and not want to be there. I go, but now, honestly, I don't have, and it sucks because like when it grows to, I can't train every person that we train, obviously. Yeah. On the app, yeah, they get to see me and talk to me, but it's a different thing. I can't see every client now that we have every week because I'm just not there I'm not there on Tuesday night.
Right.
Because I can't, bro. I'm 41 years old. I got a family. I got shit to do. Like, I can't be there anymore from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like, it'll grind me into the fucking ground. Like, that's where we talk about like being healthy. And not that like I would gain 400 pounds, but I would start to have things that would, like, my body would start to break down. I would get sick, whatever. So I don't know them, and so I don't have that deep of a relationship with them, which is not what I want. I go, but also they don't really give a shit.
No.
And that's where, if you're a person who does this for a living, you kind of have to like accept that, and that's a good place to be. And I would always wish like that they love Monica and Meredith and Heather and Brian and everybody else way more than me, so they would never have to see me, and that would be my perfect world. But I put my name on the door, so it'll probably never happen because I'm a dummy. But you know you're doing something right when because Dave does my insurance now for my gym. And I don't know who emailed me, Sandy or Cindy or whoever it was. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Because I know it's going to get done.
Right.
And it's fine. And so you got to be okay like with that, and know like when you put good people in place, dude, they don't really care if it's dealing with you directly every single time, because they might like those other people actually better than you, and that's how you know you're crushing.
100%, and I get that a lot. And so, would you say that the water off your back is, in a bad situation, it flies off a lot quicker now that you're older and you're kind of realizing even the vulnerability in life? Because not to get like too deep, but just quickly, it's like we all fucking die. And after we die, and you and I have talked about this, you probably even talked about it on the podcast, there's probably like a little bit of a sadness, and then all of a sudden nobody gives a shit. They're just back on doing their thing. So it's like, while we're here and we're not dead and we're stressing about, things that really aren't even going to matter in 10 minutes or when we're gone, as you get older, do you feel it's easier to just be like, yeah, okay?
Yeah, like when you're younger and you start, because it changes in seasons of life. I'm sure for people too. Like when you start this and you're young and you're single and you're not married or you don't have pets or kids or anything, like it's your whole existence. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is your identity? So mine went from like, okay, I'm a college athlete, I'm this guy, and now like, well, now what am I? Am I the enterprise guy? Am I the fucking whatever? Like, so let me be the super fit dude. And then, okay, now I'm the business owner. And then those things do start to shift. And then when you take a loss, like you take it personal. Oh, Jill quit and then Lindsay quit because they were friends and they think I suck and they're going to fucking Jabs or whatever, like and you want to puke because no offense to Jabs, but like Jabs sucks, and you're like, that's horseshit, and you take it like, you're basically like a salty bitch because of it. And then the older you get, and real things happen in your life, and people die, and whatever happens, and you're like, well, you know what? In 100 years, no one will remember we were even here. Yeah. And to be honest, like, none of this matters, dude. Like, it matters if I'm having fun, and I can only help the people who want to be with me. I can't worry about the people who aren't here or the people who chose to leave. And honestly, if you do it long enough, we call it like just stay alive. They tend to come back to anyway, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. But if you think about it, you guys, and not to go super deep, but the reality is like we are all going to be dead one day. And if I died tomorrow, and I really had to guess about it, they would set up some kind of funeral arrangements. Hopefully they wouldn't spend money on it because I think it's a fucking waste. I'm like, and people would cry and people would be sad. And then there people would be like texting Heather, hey, I'm too busy, I can't make it. And then Heather would have to figure out what to do with all my shit. Yeah. Like, what do I do with all these fucking shoes? Like, I'm not going to keep them forever. And so, you know what I'm saying? Or like, what am I going to do with the gym? Like, she's not going to run it. Right. So it's like the equipment gets sold off. Some of the stuff goes in the trash. Yeah. She'll meet some other fucking dude or whatever, and I'll haunt them till the day they're fucking dead, You know what I'm saying? Like, I go, but like, that's just the end game. And so that's the perspective I do have. And I'm like, I understand like what I do is important to me. I know it's important to the people we work with because I get to see it, their interaction on their faces. We get this weird community feedback loop in what I do for business, which maybe like a real estate agent maybe doesn't, or even like a doctor in a lot of cases, like, because they typically don't hear good. Like when I go to my doctor and like they do something good for me, like I'll send them a message like, thank you. Most of the time it's like either complaints or there's no feedback. Right. So we at least get some. I go, but short of that, like, I can't take it personal, dude. Like, if you want to do something else, like, you should go do it. I'm like, there's bigger things. And I always take when people are, they're salty or they're mad or they have an issue, like they have something else going on in their life. It's not me. Yeah. Like, I'm not the main problem. It's never about you. No, and we make mistakes too. Like, we do things wrong, and like we've like, fuck, dude. Like, there's so many things that's wrong. I've done the two I'll share here. One, like, I had a guy. Well, which one I'll share first? Okay, so I had a dude. He's still a client of ours, and one time he was like, "Can you pause my billing for the month?" He's what the fuck is it? Mortgage broker. Yeah. Right? So the guys who sell the loans, essentially, and they're just eating shit, right? Yeah. And so like, he's not making any money. I'm like, well, still come in, dude, and still be a client. And this is years ago, so not this recent downturn, the one before. Oh wait, yeah. And he's like, can you pause my membership for a month? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll pause it. And the buttons are right next to each other to bill all and pause. Oh. And I billed all. So I drained his whole fucking checking account in like 2 seconds. So like his membership, I think, was like $169 a month for 12 months. So I drained the whole thing. And so that's me fucking up. And then one time I had a lady, and she was a client of mine for like probably 7 or 8 years. And she was in our nutrition coaching. And finally she kind of graduated out of it. And I forget what we're charging at the time, like maybe $200 a month or something. And she goes to like graduate from it. And she's like, oh, this will be my last month. Thank you so much. I've helped you. So I go to her account, and I'm like, we didn't bill her once for a whole fucking year. So $2,400. And now... God. And I told her that, and I'm like, hey, I'm just letting you know, just so she knows her statements. I'm like, we never billed you. I don't expect the money. And then she left me a check, and she like wouldn't take no for an answer. But my point is that like, we're not perfect. Like, we fuck up and we do wrong things too. So when it happens for other people, like, I don't take it personal. And again, none of us, most of you guys listening, if you start a business, like, we're not saving lives here.
No.
We're just, we provide a service. We try to make people's lives healthier and easier, or whatever their problem is. We try to fix their pain point. And again, at the end of the day, as much as like you make your stuff relationship based, your clients like you, they know you, they like me. It is transactional.
It is
at some point, and it's just part of the game, dude. And like, if you take it personal and you take you'll cry yourself to sleep, and you'll quit doing this way before you're ever successful. Same thing with if you're a person on the internet and you create stuff, like, you'll quit before you really realize you help anybody, because you're gonna get way more people talking shit about you than tell you you're great. And that's just kind of the nature of the game. It's like, if you think about like any small business, like, you'll go to McDonald's 5,000 times and they can fuck up your order like 1,000 times, and you'll still fucking go to McDonald's. You can come to my place, bro, for 5 years, and if one thing happens that really rubs you the wrong way, you'll think I suck forever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I'll give this example, and then I'll stop rambling.
Yeah.
Like, I post on the internet, like, not even about politics, like just a random post about, like, and dude, I've posted on Instagram. I just want to look today, like, how many times I posted on here. I posted on Instagram 5,763 times. And I would say of that, about 5,500 of those are probably just straight value posts.
Yeah.
Of like, and the rest of them are peek into my private life. And I post like one thing that you don't like kind of agree with, and all of a sudden I suck shit forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't take any of that personal, dude, because none of this matters, dude. Like, it really doesn't.
Dude, here's the other perspective that I have based on what you said. When you have a family, okay, everything changes. Everything's different. Because for me, before my family, like, work was life. And work is still life in certain aspects of it because I enjoy it. But it's more like it's more like the thing I do as opposed to the thing that I just completely like relate to on all aspects. Once I met Kim and I got my boys, my dogs, and I had a family, as long as they're okay, all this other shit, it doesn't matter, you know?
No, it's very important to you because it's your legacy, and it's what you do, and you take pride in it. But it's, at the end of the day, it's like, you're a lot more than like just what your business and your job is.
Yeah. And I was going to bring up too, just about, you know, good customer, quote unquote, bad customer. You know, there's people that we've taken on that resonate with us, that have been with us for decades, right? And they let you do your job. And then there's people that, now I've gotten really good about just kind of interviewing people before I bring them into my space or my employee space. And if the first thing out of their mouth is, insurance sucks, it's a ripoff, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, although I may agree with them at certain times that, what I do sucks and it's a ripoff, I get it, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Again, that doesn't define me. That's not who I am. I'm still offering a great service to people that need it anyway. So I might as well make it, you know, value added. But man, when you get people that are just already miserable in life, if you can do whatever you can do to not take them in from the very beginning, you're just going to save yourself a lot of heartache.
We call it like pre-qual.
Yeah.
Like, you essentially pre-qualify for a loan. Like, you pre-qualify if you should be here. The nice thing in like what we do is we don't have to take anybody, and neither do you, but we also let you come and hang out for a week for free and see if you think it's a good fit. And if you are kind of on the fence, I would tell you, like, don't fucking come here. Yeah. Now, if this is me in year 2, I need you to come. and I need you to pay me money because I don't fucking have any.
Right.
But if you're going to be like a poison to the culture and the community, I don't want to work with you. And if I know you're going to be a pain in the ass, like, and this is not a knock on anybody, but there's people who will message me like on Instagram and send me like 15 messages in a day.
Yeah.
And by the time I check it, dude, it's probably 2 days later because there's a lot of shit on there. And I'm like, I have friends to get back to, whatever. And you're wanting a reply. And I'm like, do you even buy any of our shit?
Yeah.
Like, and if you do, awesome. And I'll get back to you. But I'm like, I can't spend all my time on you. And especially if you want to change 97 different things that we do.
Yeah.
The clients you work with, it does matter. And again, depending on what type of business you're in, most of the time you can, because I would assume like if you're in something like, I always use a coffee shop just because it's where I frequent a lot. And I assume most people are generally pretty cool. And if you think the coffee sucks, you're probably not going to go back. So you don't have to deal with a lot of the bullshit.
Right.
But if you're somebody who, physicians probably have it tough because you get a lot of salty fucking people in there. People who cut hair, I would assume like you have a good relationship with those people. But yeah, if somebody is like stealing your peace or your joy as a client, unless they are worth so much fucking money, dude, that literally it changes your life, I would get rid of them. Like I've never had any, I've given away, I don't know who's going to listen to this podcast. There's some things I just try not to say. It's the seasons of life, though, too. Like, I've given away clients at different seasons of life just because that are worth, at the time, to me, like thousands of dollars a month, which at the time, thousands of dollars a month is still good money to me. But, like, that was, like, a lot of money to me back then. So giving away $2,000-3,000 a month to get rid of these clients because I need to start, like, my online stuff and really build it up.
Yeah.
But I had to give them away. And I also had to give them away because, like, they've been becoming, like, a pain in the ass where the expectations were too unrealistic of my time and energy, and they were costing me more. Like I was stressed out about it. And dude, when I say I don't stress out about fitness, I do not. It's fucking fitness. I don't give a fuck. It is jumping jacks. It is bear crawls. We help people, but I don't like go home having nightmares about movement patterns. This is not a thing. But because of how they were, it was like, I was like, thinking about, I work with them on like a Tuesday, and then I was like dreading having to work with them again on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And that's not a place I want to be in. And I would tell anybody, like, those people aren't worth it for you, dude.
No, none of that is. And to your point, when I first started, people would call me and they'd be like, hey, I need insurance and I need it today. And by the way, we're on the verge of bankruptcy and I love to start fires out back, and I would go write the policy because you needed the money.
It's just the stage that like you're in, dude. There's a lot, and I would tell it to anybody, like, know the season of life you're in and know the season of business you're in. There's a lot of things I used to do that helped us get here and helped me get here, where I talk younger people who work for me out of doing things sometimes, and sometimes I talk them into doing things. Like, so my example would be, I used to train some doctors on my way home. So I'd work like at Jeremy Scott Fitness, and then I would stop at John C. Lincoln, and I'd work with these other doctors in like the cardiac rehab. They have a huge gym at the facility, and they're a bunch of ENT surgeons, and they're super cool dudes. Obviously rich as fuck, and they'll pay out their ass to do it. And I'm like, well, it's an extra 20 minutes out of my way, but I'll stop, I'll do it. It was all cash, which is great, which I completely reported to the government. And like, so I would train them and I would do that, and the money was worth it to me. So if I'm making an extra, $1,600, $2,000 a month, I'm like, yeah, I'll do this. Would I do that now? No, I wouldn't, because my time and what I want to do with my time isn't worth it. And we'll have kids that come for me and say, hey, so-and-so wants me to come to their house. And I'm like, absolutely not, dude.
Yeah.
It sounds creepy. Unless you're really broke, no, we can fill your slot. Or like say, hey, this person reached out to me, they want to train at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like, I go, dude, you're on the schedule tonight at 5:15 p.m. So even if you can go home and take a nap, you're fucking trash, dude. That's not worth it for you. Now, if you're just starting out and you need the money, sure, dude. When I'm like 26, I would sometimes drive to our facility, our old one, on a Sunday and work with kids for $20.
Wow.
20 fucking dollars. And I'm like taking them through like speed and agility drills, which by the way is complete fucking bullshit. This stuff really doesn't help those kids. It just gets them to be active and keeps them off drugs. It doesn't really make them better athletes. I go, but like, that's what I would do. And because at the time I'm like, well, if I do this every week, it's like $100 extra a month. I'm like, this is helpful to me. And it comes a time where it's like your time is worth more than the money. And you have to know what stage of business you're in, and not only the money part of it, but like, what is it costing you? Like, how much time, effort, energy, and how much of your personal life is that taking away from you for the dollar amount? And it might be worth it. If it's $5,000 a month and you got student loans and credit card debt, then yeah, dude, fucking do it.
Yeah.
But if it's you, like, going from being like feeling good to feeling tired as shit for an extra couple $100 a month, and now like you suck at home with your husband or wife, like, I don't think that money is worth the trade-off.
Well, it goes back to me for being able to look at my calendar. And I go through my calendar probably on a daily basis. I see what I have coming up for that day later on in that week. And if there's not 100% like joy out of it, and I don't care if it's personal or business, like when I see I have you on Thursday, I'm like, okay, cool, I get to see Jeremy on Thursday. Or when I'm able to go to MetCon, I'm like, I'm looking forward to my Sundays, right? If there's ever a time where that doesn't resonate, I'm not going to do it anymore, and I have a different, different things going on, different parts of the week. But, sometimes with business, we feel like we have to take those meetings, and we're not sure if we're going to like it or not. And, 9 times out of 10 for me, I can make a not sure meeting into something more into a positive light, because I like to give. And when you find yourself giving, those people, most people are very appreciative, and both people end up getting something out of it. But one thing that I've learned to do is basically to say no. I mean, if it just doesn't resonate and I feel like it's just not going to be a useful amount of my time, like what you were just talking about, I just won't do it. I'm just like, it's a big no for me. I'm not doing this. And it's funny, like we talk about LinkedIn in our mastermind a lot. Wow. I mean, how predatory can you get basically just upending people with messages, right, about these services that you offer and you've never talked to me before? And literally, I've just gotten to a point now on a daily process. I'm just like, the message will come through. I'll just delete, and not even respond. And then I get another message like a week. You can tell it's automated messages or whatever and that sort of thing. And it's just like, I know that's kind of off base from what I was just talking about. But again, it goes to the point of saying no. And so I don't even read these messages because it's just a no.
Well, LinkedIn one is weird too for people who, obviously, all of you listening have jobs, I'm assuming, unless you don't. But if you ever do, you'll probably get on LinkedIn and you'll have a profile. I would like approve everybody to be my friend, because I kind of think of it as like Facebook. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, just look at my stuff and we can connect. And maybe at some point, and again, I have made relationships on there from people who probably follow us from something else. So I'll approve everybody, but I have that moment of like, as soon as I do, if my inbox clicks, I know you're just a robot, like, and usually it's like from like, hey, Joe's a digital marketing fucking expert, and he's going to help you crush, even though all of his stuff sucks. I do delete all those too. I don't really understand why people do that. And on the same note, if you guys run a business, you're never going to sell shit cold like that, I don't think. Now, maybe it works for some of those people. I guess that's maybe why they do it, or somebody taught them that in some kind of like scam system. But I don't spend money and I don't work with people that I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I've never done it. And again, you got to like use your head. If you're, whatever industry you're in out there, if you're listening, if you're a real estate agent or you're a financial advisor or you're a CPA, like, just messaging someone like me who's 41 years old, who's ran a business for 20 fucking years, and be like, Jeremy, do you need a financial advisor? Bro, do you know what a miracle it would be that I would have gotten this far without either managing my own money or having somebody who is smarter than me that I already trust doing it? And the fact that
so true.
I would give you the amount of money that I have now at this point in my life, right, with no relationship, like, you're out of your mind, dude. I'm not a fan of the cold shit. What I would tell you guys, if you're doing, like, if you're prospecting essentially for clients and customers, create a relationship with the stuff that you put out. Like, share your best shit, and share things that probably align like with your potential clients' interests. Yeah. Or just share exactly who you are. And then you can make, what I would do is this, and this is just a business tip in general for anybody, like, instead of spamming people like an asshole, because that's what I think you are. And again, so, like, very rarely will I reply, but sometimes you'll catch me on a day where I'm just having a shit day, dude, which you'll get like you're getting 41-year-old me, but you're really getting 26-year-old me, who is a fucking problem for the world, dude. And I will just like message you in detail like how awesome I am and how much I think you suck in a very patronizing way to make you feel super small. And it's a petty thing. And BJ does it a lot when people are like, "Oh, are those your sister's shorts?" And he's like, "No, they're your mom's." You know, shit like that. Where I don't like to do that, but once in a while, like I'll go that route. The point I'm getting at is that it's a terrible way to create a relationship. What I would do is, if you're out there and in any of the service-based industries, hey, I do, like I mentioned, real estate, coffee shop, hairstylist, personal trainer, whatever. Follow other people's stuff. Like the stuff that they do, yep. Comment positively on the stuff that they do, give them praise in a DM, give them praise in public, do that for fucking months. And then if they follow your stuff or you have something to present, they're more likely to see it and engage in it and look at it. But just coming in cold out of nowhere, just saying like, "Oh, I really like what you're doing, yet I've never seen any of your shit before," like, that doesn't work very well. But if you were somebody who like came to our stuff and like you're on my newsletter and you're replying to them maybe once a week over the course of 3 months and we see it, I'm more inclined to like read what your job title is and what you do. And then I will look at your portfolio of the work that you've provided to other people. And if I need something from you, then maybe we would work together. That's how it is.
And it also goes for in-person spam. I love in-person spam. And so for you that go to these communities and these associations and go out and, network, which again is a thing, I don't do it so much anymore. I'm tired. I go to bed at 8. These late events, just no thanks. But when I used to go do it, I would
like a BNI group or something.
Like a BNI group, and so you're there, and everybody's there happy. Or don't do the in-person spam thing. Don't go up before you've even met a person, and now you're seeing them in the physical, and you walk right up to them and say, "Hey, my name's Rick, and I would like to sell you some health insurance." I can't even tell you how many times people have done that, and what a bad taste in the mouth that it just leaves to me. And it's like, why would you just go and intermediately just sell to somebody that you've never met before, and then put them in a weird position, even in person, for them to, most people they like to be nice. I'm like, "Oh yeah, give me your card," and this, and nothing's ever going to parlay of it. It's like, go to those places, just be you, and just get to know people on a personal level. And then if something, basically flourishes from that, great. Or grab a card and just be like, "Hey, nice to meet you," and send a handwritten card. "Nice to meet you. By the way, if you ever want to get together for coffee, I do this." And if they're interested, they'll get back to you.
Do they even still do like the BNI group type shit anymore?
Yeah, they do.
I was never a fan of those. For people who are listening, it's like you kind of get somebody, if I'm saying this right, like somebody from each kind of individual industry, yeah. And then like you're supposed to be like the network, but nobody ever does the shit from the other people.
Never.
And you're just basically paying money. I should start a BNI group. I think I mean, because that's who makes the money. It's like an MLM kind of.
Right.
Like you're head of the group, you make the money.
100%.
Here's an insurance guy, here's a real estate guy, here's a fitness guy. And I remember like they'll bring me in like, "We don't have a fitness guy." And I'm like, "Yeah, but none of you motherfuckers are going to come work out. So why am I going to," and no offense, like I got friends who do real estate. Yeah. I got friends who do. I'm not going to use you guys. I don't know you. Like, you'd almost have to create a group of friends you already have and then try to con other people into it. It's kind of horseshit, isn't it? Maybe they work. I don't know.
It is. I mean, I don't know. I just think we're at that point in our life. I would suggest for younger people to go find younger people to go network with and do that thing and start building your alliances, start building your trusted advisors, come to people like us, find our community so that we can look. I try to always say this delicately. I don't need your business, okay? Would I take it? Do I want it? Of course I do. But in the same breath, I more or less am at a point in my life where I want to be able to give you value and I want to help you. And in the aspect of young entrepreneurs, I think with what you and I are building with the Build Different community, that's where we're able to give back and help and do it at a, as we build this new format, at a very value price point that gives them all of that stuff. Now, if through a community like that, or even a community that they join, whatever it may be, find your alliances, your affiliates, your people that you trust, and get resources from them to be able to send to other people or to utilize for yourself as you grow.
Yeah, I'll touch on this so I make it not as salesy as it's going to sound. Again, I'm not ever trying to sell you guys anything. I don't care what you do. Hopefully you get value from these conversations or just think it's two old dudes talking shit. I think that when BJ and I talk all the time, I'm like, do people really listen to us talk about just nonsense on here? But they do. The biggest thing that, like, if you drive home any of this, because again, most of you listening, you're probably in a normal job, you run a small, medium-sized business, and you probably know this, and if you don't, community is what wins. It really is. And, like, that's the one thing I say when people ask, like, hey, do you love Scottsdale? I don't love it when it's 111 and it's September, but short of that, like I do, dude. And Heather will talk mad shit now because I think this summer's just kind of buried her. But I go, the only other place that's better is Southern California, and I'm not going to deal with the politics of the taxes, so, like, I'm not going to move there. And with that said, the real reason it's like I can't redo the community that I've built here. It's impossible to do. I'm too old, and I don't mean like I'm 100 years old. I'm like, but I can't go back and build relationships for 20 more years of the people that I've met here because we've been through so much. Like, we got a client of ours, Jeremy Williams, and he jokes, I've been through him through a couple marriages.
Love you, Jeremy.
A couple marriages now. And he jokes, he's like, Jeremy, you're the longest relationship that I've had in my life. And it's true because we've worked with these people for so long. And the reason I say that is because, like, community is kind of everything. It's how we do anything. That's kind of how our network is built. I have now people, and I won't share names, that reach out to me and like say, hey, Jeremy, do you have like a good family, divorce attorney? And I'm like, yeah, hold on a second. I can text like our attorney friends and I can connect them. And so now it's like, and I know it sounds kind of morbid, but now that guy has a fucking gangster-ass divorce attorney, so hopefully he's not going to get fucked when he's got to go through his shit. It's not Jeremy Williams, by the way. It's a different client. I go, but it's like we have people that we can connect people with, and we do that with CPAs and everything else. And the point I'm driving at is, like, community, and not just the business acumen that we share, but, like, the group Dave and I are going to kick off in 2025 is kind of this built different kind of community where you get the connection of all these people in every industry. And so it's not just like his expertise or my expertise. It's like shortcutting people's success in all these arenas, because just over the course of 20 years, how many people I've met who run successful businesses across the board, it's like we can give people access to that and we can bring them on to share with you like what they're doing. And that's kind of the beauty of it. And I wouldn't be here today without all of the people that I've met along the way. And that goes for investing in real estate, that goes for what we've done on social media and YouTube and everything else, or even just podcasting in general. The fact that, like, I've figured out how to do this 7-8 years ago when everybody in the world wasn't doing it was just because I met two girls who showed up to my studio with a whole fucking setup, and they're like, how are you doing your podcast? I'm like, on my iPad, like a dummy, and then they kind of walk us through this thing. So it's basically what we're trying to deliver to people at scale, at an affordable price point, kind of come the new year. And that's just something him and I are working on. So we're probably going to do episodes like this at least once a month, just straight kind of like, here's what's going on in the business world, here's what we see, here's how we're doing things, here's how we run them. Again, and from our perspective, and hopefully the stories are applicable and helpful for you guys, not only to give you an idea of, like, maybe if you don't love your corporate career or you want to start a side hustle or you want to have your own thing, what's possible for you, what it looks like, but also, like, hey, it's not always easy and it's not always fun, and not to discourage you and tell you it sucks shit, because, dude, I would work 100 hours a week doing this, making $35,000 a year before I go make $100,000 working for fucking State Farm or whoever it may be. I go, and that's just me and my personality. And you might be the person who wants to go work at the State Farm, making $100,000 and play in 3 softball leagues, and that's awesome too. And we can help you guys, like, figure that out along the way before making, like, some kind of catastrophic mistake that, like, you mortgage your whole family's future on some fucking pipe dream that was never going to work out. And hopefully we could keep you from making that mistake and put you on a path to be successful.
Yeah. I love it. I absolutely love everything you said. Here's the thing. We are building a community, and I'm at a good point in my life, and so is Jeremy, with not just experience, but connections and stuff like that. We spend so much time on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and we're always looking through these feeds, and we're getting news, and we're getting some positive, mostly negative, just a bunch of bullshit. And what the plan is to create a platform. It's going to be our own platform, and to create an aspect of positivity, but also relationships, and also the minimal amount of money that you would have to even pay to be a part of this, you're going to make back probably 100 times. I mean, not even exaggerating, with the amount of expertise and the people and just the business building, alone. It's just, and it's all about just having fun and telling stories and just getting educated and having another place to be able to go to and be a part of, and maybe parlaying some of that social media time that you're spending a lot of time, like, I don't know, whether it's looking at who's going to win the election today, as opposed to yesterday, or whether it's, just who's going to do certain, whatever.
Barstool at the airport night pizza reviews.
Yeah, give us 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day, or even a week, or whatever it is, and guaranteed, as we launch this and we build this out, it's about building community, and that's what I'm excited about, because I'm able to do this at this point in my career. I don't have to slave away. We've talked about it, endlessly, about the things that we had to do early in our career as business owners. Now I can do other things to give back and to bring more and more people in my life nationwide, because there's a lot of people that listen to Jeremy's podcast here, and there's a lot of people all over, and even the people in the first aspect of our mastermind, they're from all over the nation. I don't think there was not a single one from Arizona that came in. Yeah, well, a couple, and they were there for a few months or whatever. But point being is that we created some great relationships with people, in California, in Kentucky, I think it was, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin, all over. Yeah. And actually got to meet all of these people. So it'll be a platform online, but we're also I'm going to coerce? Yeah, Jeremy into doing some live events, and us being able to, break bread together and do, some cool stuff. So it's exciting.
Yeah, so, and I'll share a bunch of the stuff kind of as we go for you guys, but if you're listening to these type of episodes, it's the people who, whether you are ever going to start your own business or not, whether it's just a side hustle, or whether you're a stay-at-home mom or dad and you want to do something that earns an extra, $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month on the side, doing something that you actually enjoy that provides value to people, that is what we can help people do. It's what we've helped people do, and we've helped people take their business from X to Y and beyond. And more importantly than that, kind of create a system and a lifestyle that they enjoy, that helps them make money for their family. Because I know what it is. Even for people who you're not really sure where you want to go in terms of career and where that outlet is, but if you can do something that you actually like and provides value to people, and it nets your family an extra couple of G's a month, I'm like, it can be a game changer for a lot of people. And what we're going to offer it to people at is literally peanuts, in my opinion. And there are things that you can actually take and you can run with them. And this is not a knock on anybody else, but I've seen so many and I'll share this story too. I'm going to share two stories maybe, because I got one on reviews that I'm going to share. It's going to be, I haven't shared in the podcast yet. I wanted to wait till Heather got on, but she is not going to be on today, so I'm going to share it without her, and she can come rehash it later on. But I remember sitting and this is not a knock on Tony Robbins. He's a great guy.
Great.
He's a great guy. I got gifted a ticket, and I've shared this on here probably years ago, to Unleash the Power Within, and I'm sitting super close, me, fucking Oprah, hanging out all in the front, and I'm sitting next to this dude, and he wants to essentially, and again, you guys know how the event works. They basically run 16 hours a day. It's ridiculous. They run for multiple days. I would leave early some of the days just because it was too much for me, but in terms of speaking, he speaks well. Tony Robbins is great. Those events, it's the greatest upsell, downsell kind of add-on ancillary product placement I've ever seen in my life. From a business standpoint, it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Now, what they promise people, I think, is kind of complete horseshit, just for the fact of I know what people's follow-through is when you sell them something. And long story short, this guy was sitting next to me. He wanted to kind of get into real estate and kind of start a real estate business, even though he has had zero fucking experience. And he sat next to me, and they're doing their offering. I think it was like, I don't know if it was called Business Mastery or whatever it was called. It was $10,000 is what the program cost. And he's like, I've been sitting next to this guy for 3 days. And so as little as I talk, we still do, conversate during the 3 days. And he knows what I do at this point. And he's like, Jeremy, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, for $10,000, bro, I'm like, I can introduce you to 100 people, or you could just pay me, dude, $5,000. And I think I'll help you 100 times X of what they're going to help you. And the reason I say it is because I'm like, for 10 G's, you're not actually getting to talk to Tony or anybody even remotely close to him. I go, you're not talking to anybody who's actually like built the business. I'm like, I can walk you through how we've built our business, and people who are in my first client, shout out to Raul, has sold fucking literally hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate. And I'm like, I can connect you and put you in a room with these people. And so my point is that like, people are out there investing in things like that they're fucking pipe dreams, dude. And they're selling you nonsense. I'm like, I have no interest in doing that. I don't need the money. I'm like, but it is cool for me, just like in fitness, to help people get fit and like kind of, be in their own best body. I know the same because I live it. I live in mine, and I know what it feels like. And I also know what it feels like to kind of have some, freedom and flexibility in your job and in your career, and have it be fulfilling, and also have the financial freedom to do it. Like, so that's kind of like what we're doing, but at a price point that doesn't cripple people and actually does help them. And so not just here's some bullshit stuff. No, here's actual tools you can take today when you get off of the computer, when you get off of the video, you get off the call, you can take it, you can use it, and you can apply it into your life. And if you do it consistently, like, you will make money. Because most of you listening are much smarter than me. I just happen to kind of hit lightning at the right time, and I've worked my fucking dick off to get here. And I'm like, that's how we made this happen. And that's what we're giving to other people. To keep going on my story here, I'm going to ask you guys at the end of this podcast, briefly, leave a Google review, leave an Apple review, 5-star review. It helps us. It's great. Don't leave shitty reviews for people unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And Dave can share whatever story he wants. I was in San Diego 2 weeks ago. we always do on our trips is like we rent boats, and I think we used Boat Setter. And Boat Setter, the company, is typically great. They're kind of like an intermediary. They'll hook you up with people who like own really nice boats, and they can get a captain for you on the boat. Blah blah blah. And so I've only had good experiences. The last one we went out, the boat super sick. We took 2 friends out. It was amazing. The guy had to stop and get gas, so we put on an extra half hour on the boat. It was awesome. This time, we did it kind of last minute. They were more expensive than I would have wanted to pay, but it was kind of what was available. And so we make it, and we show up. It's the same marina, but it's like a different docking area. And we park, and we meet the guy, and this dude had been drinking booze probably since the minute he fucking woke up. I didn't notice it at first. Heather mentioned it to me. And we show up. He's very nice, though. And again, they're sailors. They drink booze. Like, my family grew up, on the river. I get how it is. And so he's like, yeah, we'll go out on the boat. He's like, but the boat that you guys wanted wasn't starting, so we're going to take this other boat instead. So we walk our ass all the way down this dock, which seems like it's 2 fucking miles away. And we get to his boat, and it's a shittier boat for sure. But it didn't look unsafe, and so I'm like, this is going to be fine. And you're in the marina in San Diego, so yeah, it is the ocean, but you're not like, way the fuck out there. So I'm like, we'll be fine. I noticed, like, when we get on the boat, he does have an open pack of Pacifico that's sitting there. So the dude obviously had been drinking booze for quite a while. And then I slowly noticed that he's vaping. So the dude is on high for one, and he's been drinking booze. So that's our guy who takes us out. His cell phone is dying. He can't find the Bluetooth connection for his phone, which is fine. Like, we have phones, so we can put the Bluetooth on for music. And we get going out. It's beautiful. It's, 70 degrees and sunny. We get out of the little marina there. We pass the gas station. And I've done this route before, so I know where we're at. And we can't be in this boat more than 15 minutes, and this thing just dies. Like, his boat is just dead. So I'm sitting 15 minutes into like a 3-hour boat ride, and the thing just won't go. And the dude is in like kind of a panic because his cell phone is dying. He tries to call the boat, whatever the boat towing agency is, and he gets them to answer the phone. His membership card, for whatever that is, has run out. And then obviously through listening to him panic on his phone, apparently this is his girlfriend's boat. It's not his boat. And then he's like, how much would it cost to tow me back to my boat slip? And they're like $330. And you can hear the panic in his voice that the dude doesn't have $330. And so he's trying to now Heather and I are on the boat in the front, and he's like trying to scream at this giant fucking sailboat, dude. Like this sailboat has like 50 people on it. Hey, can you tow us back into like to the gas station? And the guy on the sailboat's like, fuck you, dude. I'm not towing you back in. And like, I don't get embarrassed. I wish I could have been fucking invisible at the time, because they assume like this guy's my friend and like he knows me, right? And so he finds these two people on jet skis who are from like, I don't know, Germany and wherever. They barely speak English. Can you tow us to the gas station? And the lady, so it's like a mom and the son, and the dad is on another jet ski. And the mom is like, sure. I don't even think she understands what the fuck she's agreeing to. So I take a rope and I tie it to the back of her. She doesn't even know how to these are rentals. She doesn't even know how to ride a fucking jet ski. I'm tying this rope back to the back of her jet ski as she's towing the boat on her jet ski with her son back to the gas station. And while this is happening, the guy is like still trying to talk to like the boat towing company on my phone now, because his phone is dead. And then this is taking like 20 minutes, right? Just to get, because it's the slowest fucking tow ever.
5-star.
Yeah. What he's trying to do then, once she gets close to the gas station, he's like, maybe she'll take us all the way back to the boat slip. He goes, because when you guys get to the gas station, you can't just get off. I'm like, no. And I look at Heather, I go, as soon as we get close enough for me to jump off this fucking boat, we are done, bro. And so the lady's like, no, we can't tow you back to your boat slip, you dummy. These are rentals. We got to have them back. And so immediately when we get close to the boat dock, we just hop off. The guy, no joke, looks at us. He's like, give me 15 minutes. I'll get us started back up. We'll go on this boat ride. And I'm like to Heather, I go, Heather, we're fucking done. Get us off. I go, dude, you can let us out. I can walk to my fucking car. And like literally the dudes at the boat dock are like, yeah, I think he was here earlier today. Like, and he was even drinking back then. And just like, my point is that all I did was go to Boat Setter, ask for a refund. I dispute the money on Amex. I get my money back. I didn't smoke the guy. And that is probably one instance where I could give him a 1-star, and I could have shared that whole story and said how fucking awful he is. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that next time he's got a phone charger, he has a boat that works, and he's not so fucking stupid. And I'm like, I know what a small business is like for people, and I know like what shitty reviews do, and I know if I leave that story on his Boat Setter account, he will never get a fucking another ride again. And you know, I didn't die. I wasn't going to. I go, but he obviously fucked up. And so either he figures it out or somebody else will smoke him on the next review. So I guess that's my point, you guys, is like when you go to these small businesses, you know, that's an awful experience, and it's a good story, it's good content, but you don't have to crush somebody, because the reviews do matter. So when you leave a review on our Google stuff, it matters to us. When you leave a review on the podcast, it matters to us. And the bigger chains, not so much, because people kind of go to them out of convenience or just habit, but the smaller businesses, like, the reviews really do matter. So if you can leave awesome ones, that's great. And if you don't have a great experience, give them, you know, the benefit of the doubt, and just either don't go back there, or the next time you can kind of make the call from there.
Yeah, look, that's an amazing story. Oh my God, I would have freaked out in the middle of the bay like that. I do not like the ocean. That's actually where my kid got hurt too, is out in that area. So we're not going back there.
Oh yeah, because you were in San Diego too.
Yeah.
All I said to Heather was, I go, as soon as you, dude, if you can jump,
swim
off. Dude, if that was the choice, I'd have been like, we can get wet.
Yeah.
Our phones are waterproof now.
Oh, it's perfect.
We'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Fuck it.
No, and look, folks, Jeremy makes a really good point, and especially with the clients that I deal with, a lot of them are small restaurant businesses. I'm not a big insurance brokerage. I'm big enough, but my community are all the local restaurants. I get to deal with the owners, and so I can't stress to you enough, wherever you're listening at, if you're going to a local, restaurant and you're looking at Yelp reviews, don't look at Yelp reviews. Yelp is the mafia. They don't allow you to even.
Yelp fucking sucks.
They're horrible. They don't even allow you to even call them to take reviews down. They will harass you if you don't create a Yelp page. I mean, I've just heard so many nightmares about it. My suggestion is, look, everybody has good days, bad days. There's times where something's going to be a 10. Sometimes it'll be a 7. Go in and make your own evaluation. And look, if things don't go to your standard, and unless they're really, really bad, where the server or the owner is like, hey, fuck you, too bad. If it's just somebody having a bad day, or maybe the food didn't come out right, have a conversation, but don't ruin them online like a lot of these people do, and just seem to have some sort of a grudge. It's not good for these small business.
No, and I think like if you message like the owner or the manager or somebody, you're probably going to get a better result for the 100%. Restaurant in general. I mean, like, as this guy is panicking, vaping weed on the phone call, I was like, man, this is like, you've done everything wrong today. But I'm like, hey man, maybe, and again, I always say, like, I don't know what he came from. I don't know what he's going home to. His girlfriend probably going to leave him now. I'm like, but it is what it is. So yeah, if you can just kind of try to be cool, man.
Just be cool.
Yeah. That's it. So yeah, I'll share all the info, you guys, for those of you who it's like your thing in this group. If nothing else, like the connections you'll make from it, I think are a huge piece of it, because I'm going to bring on all my fitness friends like in the industry into here to talk, to speak, to do whatever, to kind of give people a perspective. And it's not just, again, like anything we talk here, it's business-based stuff and it's tactical stuff to help you guys, make money, but more importantly, like, to create an ideal kind of life that you want for you. And I'm always the first one to say, like, you don't want my life and how I run it. Like, I love it. I go, but if you give me what you're looking for, I can help you create the framework of that for you based on your personality type and what you want to do. And it's always like being realistic, right? Like if you say, hey, Jeremy, I want to make $10 million a year, you probably aren't going to be like dad of the year. Like, that's probably not a thing, right? Like, but if you want to be like a really good, husband and father and all those things, I'm like, there's a trade-off there, and we can kind of help kind of paint the line of like what that would look like in terms of like work, life, balance, and kind of everything in between. And because there's going to be avatars of other people who have done it, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like, we can share with you a myriad of people who have crushed in all areas of life, and then you can kind of listen to their stories and kind of pick and choose what you want to do. And then also take the actual pieces. And that's the one thing I would say is, like, I do all the story stuff I'm happy to share and I'm happy to talk, but I'm like, what I really like doing is like giving you guys the things that I've actually done that have allowed me to get here and make the money and kind of create this life. And that's the actual things we can hand you over that you can just, it's almost plug and play, and you can apply it to your stuff. And I say this all the time, like, I just like fitness. If I would have picked any other industry, dude, I'd have so much more fucking money. It'd be unreal, but if I was in, and this is not saying like real estate isn't hard. It's not saying being a hairdresser isn't hard. I just don't have the skills for that. I go, but if I took this same machine and did that, bro, I would just murder. Because you watch what other people do in the areas that you want to be successful in. So many people are making it like they're just getting by in business, and they suck. And if there's not room for more shitty people in fitness or real estate or insurance or whatever it is, but there's room for good people. And if you're willing to just kind of put in the work and like, you really give a shit about it, like, you can be insanely successful and surpass what you're doing at your current job in this new life way faster than you think.
Yeah, and I'll end with this. Look, God, 2 hours of you all listening to this, if you've gotten through this far. I'll end with this aspect of it. We're building, again, it's a community. I don't care if you own a gym. I don't care if you're a hairdresser. I don't care, whatever. It's a community of just all good people that can learn from each other. Look, Jeremy and myself, we're not the gods of business. We're not the know-it-alls. We're just people that are putting something together that I think a lot of people enjoy and a lot of other people can contribute to. And so when we look at the aspect of things that I want to bring in to help people, I mean, well, let's talk about AI. Let's talk about, what's going on in, the food system industry, agriculture, all sorts of fun stuff that I think parlays into people's personal lives as well, so they can live an optimal, healthy life to be able to run the best business and have the best family life as well. So this is an all-in community, and bringing on a lot of guests that can attribute and bring a lot of value on that end as well. And I think, as Jeremy had said, like, this this is September. We'll podcast again, in October. And yeah, some of the things I'd like to talk about would be, quite honestly, just music and things that brought us joy when we were kids, and kind of do other aspects and analysis about life, and not just make it about, hey, how much money can we make? Because I think if you're happy and you can revert back to your childhood, and if you're driving to work and for me, if I'm listening to my favorite Van Halen tune and it's getting me into the mood of a good mindset when I answer that phone call, and I'm already feeling good about what I listened to that brought me back to that position, these are good tips of the trade. These are good things to talk about. These are good things to reminisce about. So I think we can talk a lot about that, and maybe we can save my bad Porsche story for that episode as well.
No, I'll make a list. And when you guys are listening to these kinds of things, like, ask yourself, like, what is it you want to do? Like, what are the things you like to do? And I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, just chase your passion, because that's like, I'm an asshole if I say that. Like, I say that now because I'm rich. Like, when I was poor, I couldn't say that. Like, chase the things that, like, you're good at. Like, ask yourself, like, what are the things I'm actually good at? What are the things that, like, what is my particular skill set? And then if you can somehow marry those two things together, that's great. I'm like, all I did was, like, I like to play sports. That's all I really gave a shit about. That's all I really cared about. And I'm just, I'm a white dude from the Midwest. I wasn't going to play like in the NBA. I'm like, so this is the next closest thing that I could do. This is the closest thing that I could do to being a professional athlete that I could possibly think that would be fun. And I'm like, and I just happened to kind of build everything around it. And I'm like, you all have that same thing. I don't know what it is for you. I'm like, but just start to ask yourself, like, what are the things I'm not just passionate about, but what are the things I'm actually good at? Like, what are the things that I could take and like kind of run with and kind of create, not an identity around, but like an ideal lifestyle around. And I think if you can start with those questions, like, we can kind of connect the dots from there. So, always, dude, appreciate it.
Dude, it's great.
2 hours.
Thank you.
I don't even know what we talked about.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. So, cool.
I'll put the link below. You guys can, there's like a wait list. You guys can just sign up for it. It'll be in there. If you have specific questions, just ask. If you guys have business questions, finance questions, money questions, all those things, obviously we'll bring the people on. We have the resources for that. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, drop a 5-star on Apple. I appreciate it. A review would be great. Same thing for Google, same thing for Spotify. You guys got wanting free samples of anything, AG1, anything else, hit me up. Everything else is in the show notes. If you need something, otherwise holler at me, and Dave's stuff will all be below too. Give him a follow, give him a like, give him a share, talk to him.
Yeah, I'm going to take this audio and put it on my podcast as well and share. So thank you, everybody.
Boom. You guys have an awesome rest of your Friday. I think I'll be back on Sunday. I'm getting confused what even fucking week it is. But if I am, I'll see you guys Sunday. But until next time, eat well, train hard, be nice to people, and please, you guys, keep doing shit you love with people you enjoy, because your life is too short not to. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.